Okay, so now we see it in a pyramidal structure, how the food that we eat is divided. We understood that there are carbs, there are minerals, there are roughage, there are a lot of things. Where do they stand? Alright, see, proteins, we all know meat, fish, paneer, eggs, soya bean, dal, alright, all these things. Eggs, we have nuts which are fats, we have fibrous veggies, we have oils, we have fibrous fruits. These give us a lot of carbohydrates. Fats gives us complex energy, but at the end it is also energy. It is burnt later after carbohydrates. Alright. So carbohydrates like bread, carbohydrates like rice, carbohydrates like fruits, nuts, and all these things. Minerals. Now foods like leafy green, your mom says eat green leafy vegetables. Why? Because it is rich in minerals, it is rich in a lot of nutrients that are good for the body. Alright. Dairy products, seafood, these provide essential minerals such as calcium, iron and zinc. Our body also needs these minerals. Alright. Calcium is useful for the bones. Iron is useful for hemoglobin. Okay, hemoglobin, which promotes oxygen. And zinc is also useful for bones. It is useful for absorption, hormones, and all these things. So Ca, Fe, iron and zinc, these are some examples of minerals. Alright, there are a lot more minerals that are required, but I have told you where these three are used. Roughage, also known as dietary fiber. Okay, now apart from saliva, what else is needed to keep the food moving down the digestive system? That is roughage. Alright, it is also known as the dietary fiber. Roughage is found in fruits, vegetables and whole grains. Okay, so roughage is fiber that is found in fruits, vegetables, some vegetables and whole grains like wheat, jawar, bajra and all these things. It aids in digestion and prevents constipation. What happens is, now at the end of the large intestine, when the food has been absorbed to the maximum part, the waste material needs to move out of the anus, and that moving out needs fiber. It needs some fiber to move out. That comes from roughage. Alright, this prevents constipation. Constipation is when that waste material is not able to move out. Alright, it is stuck. That is why roughage is important in our diet. Why? Because it will help in the easy disposal of waste material. Now there are some problems with human digestion as well. Alright, there are a lot of problems with human digestion. The first one is, there can be certain issues related to digestion. Okay, there can be a lot of issues related to digestion. First one is tooth decay. Now where was the first part of digestion? In our mouth, when we chew, alright, and mix saliva. If our teeth are not in good health, if they are decaying, if they are hurting, we will not be able to chew the food properly, and this will lead to a very poor digestive system. So improper dental hygiene is the oral hygiene, the mouth, your teeth, your tongue, your gums, these comprise of the dental parts. Now, and consumption of sugary foods can lead to tooth decay. If I consume a lot of sugar, a lot of carbohydrate, a lot of sugar, I do not clean my teeth properly, if I do not keep my tongue healthy, if I do not keep my mouth healthy, this will lead to tooth decay. It will lead to my teeth getting damaged. This outer covering of white, that is enamel, will break down. This will lead to my teeth getting hurt. Okay, see over here, these teeth are not in good health. Okay, now this can damage the tooth enamel. Enamel is the hardest part of our body. The teeth, the outer teeth covering is the hardest part. Bacteria in the mouth can produce acids. So in early morning we brush our teeth, all right, with a base. Why? At night you eat dinner, you eat some sugary food, all right, not necessarily something sweet, but sugar is present in a lot of foods. So you eat it, you do not brush, your mouth stays closed, there is bacteria inside your mouth. What that bacteria will do, it will change that glucose, that is food stuck in mouth, to acid. Okay, from sugar to acid, gluconic acid or any other acid, all right, in your mouth. This acid will harm the tooth enamel, it will harm the outer covering of your teeth. Another thing that happens is diarrhea. Okay, in diarrhea there are frequent loose bowel movements, all right, so that waste material comes out as liquid, all right, a lot of pain in your stomach. Okay, that is diarrhea. It can be caused by infections, food poisoning, or lack of proper sanitation. If I do not consume clean food, if there is a lot of bacteria in the food, if there is food poisoning, if there are infections in my stomach, all right, what would happen is it will infect my digestive system, or it will infect my intestines, it will make my digestion poor. Okay, the water will not be taken away properly, the nutrients will not be taken absorbed properly, so that will help, that will lead to a very loose bowel movement. What is a bowel movement? That movement of waste material out of the anus, that is the bowel movement. Now we come to another biological activity that is very important, that is respiration, the breathing, the burning of food, alright, the production of energy. Respiration is the process by which organisms obtain energy from food and release waste products. So I take energy from food. Now how do I get that energy? That is through respiration, alright, the burning of food. It can be classified as aerobic respiration or anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, respiration requires oxygen and occurs in most organisms. So we practice aerobic respiration, we humans. Most animals practice aerobic respiration. Why? Because we need oxygen to survive. We take in oxygen, we lose out carbon dioxide, and in the process our heart is working, the blood is getting flowed, all right, there is oxygen being supplied to the brain, that is keeping us alive and our digestive system working, and it occurs in most organisms. So in most organisms you will find aerobic respiration. It involves the breakdown of glucose to release energy. Now I consumed food, I consumed glucose. Okay, how will I break it down apart from the digestive system? That is respiration. Carbon dioxide and water, it is a highly efficient process. So respiration is what helps me break down the glucose to release energy, CO2 and water. Okay, so that C6H12, alright, let me type in a good way. C6H12O6 is broken down into energy plus CO2 plus H2O. Okay, this is a very efficient process, means it is well defined, everything works simultaneously, everything works in a proper time, in a proper fashion. All right, so the lungs, the nose, and the heart, they work in a efficient process. All right, oxygen goes here, carbon dioxide goes here, nutrients go here, this goes there, glucose there, goes burned here, the carbon dioxide is released there. All that is a very efficient process. Anaerobic respiration, so you can understand that it is the opposite of aerobic respiration. What happens is, in anaerobic respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. Okay, so there is not much oxygen present in anaerobic respiration. It will take place in a very limited oxygen atmosphere or in the absence of oxygen. There is no O2 altogether. It is less efficient and produces lactic acid. So aerobic respiration produces a lot of energy, a lot of carbon dioxide, but in anaerobic respiration it is less efficient. It produces lactic acid, a lot of lactic acid, and alcohol or other byproduct. Okay, so during, for example, I'll give you an example of anaerobic respiration, the fermentation of yeast. All right, the fermentation of yeast leads to the formation of alcohol because there is not much O2 present, right? In humans it is lactic acid. So for example, if you run a lot, all right, you are running for maybe even for 10-15 minutes, but at a very high pace, your body is not able to breathe in a lot of oxygen. What would happen? It will start producing lactic acid in your muscles. All right, because from aerobic respiration you are now transferring to anaerobic respiration, and there is a lot of lactic acid. That cramp that occurs in muscles or in your legs is due to lactic acid. Okay, examples include fermentation of yeast, right? Fermentation of yeast for alcohol, and lactic acid. So again, let me give you an example for lactic acid. Lactic acid is produced whenever there is anaerobic respiration. So running, jumping, any physical activity where there is less oxygen or no oxygen. All right, it leads to the formation of lactic acid. What do we do when we have a lot of lactic acid present inside our body? We need massages, we need hot water therapy, okay, so that our body does not cramp. We need a lot of stretching so that lactic acid is removed from the body. Now we come to respiration in human beings. Okay, in human beings, respiration involves the following processes: inhalation, intake of air rich in oxygen into the lungs. So in our lungs, oxygen goes, okay, there are a lot of root like structures present inside this lung. Okay, at the end of these lungs there are sac like structures, a little balloon like structures that inflate and deflate. So that is how lungs are constantly expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting. Oxygen moves in. This is surrounded by blood, all right, not inside the lungs but blood vessels, all right, a lot of nerves, a lot of muscles, which will take the oxygen from this to the heart. This is how oxygen is transferred first, then exhalation. Now after the heart has done its part, it has taken oxygen, the rest of the body will supply carbon dioxide to the heart. That carbon dioxide rich blood will come to the lungs, and the lungs will take that carbon dioxide and release it out. Inhalation, exhalation. In inhalation we intake oxygen, in exhalation we release oxygen containing carbon dioxide from the lungs. Cellular respiration. So this occurs in cells. All right, cells are, remember, the fundamental unit of life, a very small creature, where glucose and oxygen react to produce energy, carbon dioxide and water. So even over here in our cells, what is occurring? Glucose is getting burned, the food is getting burnt using this oxygen. Okay, we add oxygen, there is heat produced. What happens is, what is released? Energy, this is called ATP, plus CO2, carbon dioxide, plus H2O, water, carbon dioxide, water, right? This is what happens. Now what was the structure of glucose? It is C6H12O6. These react and this is formed. Okay, let me show you with the diagram. So over here we have the mouth, we have the nose. This is where the things happen. Also we have a diaphragm. Okay, a diaphragm is something like this under the lungs. We have a rib cage, we have the lungs, we have the diaphragm. What happens? So let's start with inhalation, right? I take in oxygen, okay, through my nose, through my mouth, this air goes in, the lungs expand, right? The lungs expand, the rib cage comes out, the diaphragm contracts, it goes down because it was earlier up. I have taken in oxygen, so the diaphragm contracts downwards. Alright, lungs expanded, it is filled with oxygen. Now, what would happen is when I breathe out, I will let go of the air, the lungs will contract, the diaphragm will relax and go up again. Okay, the ribs will also contract. Okay, so this is what inhalation and exhalation happens in during respiration. And see the lungs, see the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm they have already shown. It looks like this. These are the two lungs. You can see the nerves over here. You can see the air passage through where air goes, right? Now we come to transportation. The nutrients, the oxygen rich blood, that is all transported. How is it transported in us humans, in the animals, in living organisms? Alright, I don't understand that we take in, but how do we distribute it to the limbs, to the other organs that need energy? So transportation in living organisms involves the movement of substances such as water, nutrients, gases and waste products. Alright, so everything is transported. Water is being transported, nutrients are being transported, gases are being transported and waste product is also transported. Blood circulation in humans. How is blood circulated? So the heart is a vital organ. We know our heart is beating throughout our lifetime, right? The heart pumps blood throughout the body. What it is doing? It is a pump. It is pumping blood throughout our body. The pulse that we feel, alright, that is the pump that we are feeling our heart is doing. It consists of 4 chambers. So if this is the heart, it is divided into 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 chambers. 2 are atria, okay, and 2 are ventricles. So this is atria and these are 2 ventricles. Remember the name. Atria, ventricles. 2 atria, 2 ventricles. 2 chambers, 2 chambers. Blood vessels. Blood vessels. Arteries carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. Okay, arteries, what they do is, there are arteries coming out of the heart. What are they doing? They are taking, they carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. Okay, while the veins, another are veins, they carry deoxygenated blood toward the heart. Okay, capillaries connect arteries and veins enabling exchange of substances with tissues. So arteries are bringing in oxygen rich blood, veins are taking it out, alright, or maybe veins can carry deoxygenated blood, carbon dioxide rich blood, and arteries carry the oxygen rich blood to the body. Alright, so the lungs supply oxygen to the heart, heart transfers that oxygen through arteries to the body then uses that oxygen, produces carbon dioxide is again released into the blood and it is brought by the veins to the heart again to be sent back to lungs to release the carbon dioxide, right? Now what are capillaries? Capillaries are very fine blood vessels, very fine thread like structure that connect the arteries and the veins. They are between the arteries and the veins, enabling exchange of substances between tissues. So supposedly there is an organ or a tissue and something is to be sent to the arteries, or something has to be taken from the arteries and something has to be sent back to the veins. That would be done through the capillaries, because most of the time a lot of big blood vessels cannot exist between all organs, all tissues. Now what is blood? Blood is the medium of transport. So consider a truck that is transporting. For us, blood is the transport. Whenever anything has to be transported within our body, we give it in the blood. Alright, we are injected in the blood. We are carrying nutrients in our blood. We are carrying water in our blood. It is a connective tissue that carries oxygen, nutrients, hormones and waste products. Everything is being transported through the blood. Blood is a connective tissue. What is it? It is a connective tissue. Blood cells. Now what are blood cells? Blood cells carry oxygen, white blood cells fight infections and platelets aid in blood clotting. So inside the blood there are a lot of cells, right? Cells. There are RBCs, red blood cells, that are red in color, white blood cells that are white or transparent in color, and platelets. Okay, so what is the role of all of these? Red blood cells carry oxygen. Okay, so RBCs carry O2. WBCs, white blood cells, fight infections, so immunity. If someone has a lot of white blood cells, he will not catch diseases, he will not catch infections, he will not catch any viral disease. Why? Because of a lot of white blood cells, a lot of immunity is provided. White blood cells are what fights diseases, alright, they kill the infectious microorganism. And platelets aiding in blood clotting. If you get a cut, if you get a wound, if you get injured, right, you will see after a few time the blood has gotten clotted over there, alright, and it has dried out, it has filled that wound. That is blood clotting. So the blood has a property of clotting. Okay, if there is a leakage, so for example, if there is a pipe, the pipe gets broken somewhere, there is leakage. Okay, consider a liquid that will fix this pipe itself and keep flowing. That is the blood. Alright, so what happens is blood is flowing in some pipes and it also fixes the pipe if there is a problem. That is clotting. Okay, blood is clotting. It will form clots, it will form a solid structure, it will form obstructions if there is some injury, if there is some problem. Alright, blood has a property of clotting. Now we come to a few diagrams. Let me show you in detail. See, the blue ones are veins, okay, red ones are arteries, although both are red, but for explanation I am showing you arteries. Okay, these carry the oxygen rich blood to the body. Okay, so wherever I need oxygen, these red arteries are present. Alright, veins. Now what veins do is, after giving oxygen by the arteries, the body produces the organs will produce carbon dioxide and all through respiration. There is carbon dioxide produced. This will go from veins back to the heart. Heart will pump it back to the lungs that are present here, and it will be moved out. This is what happens in lungs. We take the oxygen is taken by the red blood cells that are present in these arteries. They are taken to organs give out carbon dioxide, which is again transferred back to the lungs. This is a gas exchange. Right? These are red blood cells that are carrying oxygen. Now this is the heart. It has 4 chambers. Alright, we have the pulmonary artery, we have the pulmonary veins, we have the pulmonic valve, we have the right atrium, we have tricuspid valve, we have vena cava. Okay, if you see over here, you can see the inside of this. These are ventricle, left ventricle, right ventricle, aorta, atrium, left atrium, right atrium. Okay, now transportation in plants. How do plants transport their nutrients and oxygen and carbon dioxide? How does that happen in them? So transportation in plants occurs through these two, xylem and phloem. These are two tissues that are responsible for transport. What does xylem transport? Xylem is a specialized plant tissue that transports water and minerals from roots to leaves. Okay, so let's study with the plant. Okay, over here we see xylem tissue. It transports water and minerals from the roots to the leaves. Now, why will water be transported from roots to the leaves? For transpiration. Excess water needs to be evaporated. It is a part of the water cycle. Alright. Minerals are again required by the plant, so it needs transfer of minerals. See over here, this is the xylem tissue, the green one. Okay, it takes water and minerals. Alright, it does not have end walls. It is differentiated. It is taking water and minerals throughout the plant. Right. Now, it consists of cells called tracheids and vessel elements. So if they ask you which transporting tissue in plants contains tracheids, that is this TRACHEID, yes, tracheids and vessel elements. Phloem. Now phloem transports organic nutrients such as sugars from leaves to other parts of the plant. Okay, so it is responsible for transporting the food that is made in the leaves, sugars, leaves to other parts of the plant. So over here if we see, photosynthesis occurs. From photosynthesis, this food that is made has to be transported throughout the plant, maybe to a fruit, maybe to grow, maybe for a damaged part. What will happen? The phloem will transport it. Alright, phloem is responsible for transporting sugar, food made by photosynthesis. Alright, it consists of cells called sieve tubes, elements and companion cells. So remember, what are their components? What are the components of phloem? Sieve tubes. This can be asked. Companion cells. These are all present in phloem. Let's see it more easily. See, water and minerals, no end walls, one way, outer cells. These are all in phloem. So you will see this in roots. Xylem would be in roots. Alright, because it has to transport water. So xylem is mostly found in roots. You will find phloem in the stem. Okay, the leaves. it transports the food from leaves to other parts, right? So it is present over there.